Meanwhile, the city of Cleveland has agreed to pay the family of Tamir Rice $6 million as terms of a settlement reached in court today. The 12-year-old boy was shot and killed by Officer Timothy Lohman in November of 2014 while playing with a BB gun at a local park. A year later, a grand jury failed to indict either of the two officers involved, a decision that intensified national outrage over the rising number of police-involved killings of unarmed black men. RT correspondent Brigida Santos joins me now from L.A. with the latest. Brigida, what does this settlement mean in terms of justice? Is this simply financial, or will further action be taken against the officers involved?
Right now, it is simply financial. So in exchange for accepting this $6 million payout, the Rice family will not go further with any other legal action against the two officers involved, Officer Lohman and also Officer Garnbach, or the Cleveland police or the city itself. However, now that the criminal investigation is over, the police department does say that it's going to conduct an administrative review of the two officers involved to see whether they violated any policies and procedures when responding to the reports that Tamir was in the park with a gun. And it doesn't mean that anything is going to happen, though. We do see that on occasion something will happen, but usually they don't make any changes. Now, the prosecutor, Tim McGinty, did say back in December that the grand jury did not indict because they had found it to be a combination of human error, communications, and mistakes. And so they will have to pay the city will have to pay $3 million this year to the Rice family, and then an additional $3 million next year. So hopefully they will get feeling that there has been some justice served, even though it can't bring their son back, obviously. But the attorneys for the Rice family did issue this statement. They said, quote, "Regrettably, Tamir's death is not an isolated event. The problem of police violence, especially in communities of color, is a crisis plaguing our nation. It's the sincere hope of the Rice family that Tamir's death will stimulate a movement for genuine change in our society and our nation's policing so that no family ever has to suffer a tragedy such as this again." Anya.
And what about reform of the police in Cleveland? Brigida, will this settlement, does it mention anything about that?
Now, we only have information that we've seen in other police departments. And so far what we've seen is that police departments are not in favor of convicting or prosecuting their officers, which is why they go and do these payouts. And so just because they do a payout doesn't mean that they're going to actually make any reforms. And oftentimes what happens is an insurance company who's insuring these police departments can go in and enforce some type of changes, because the insurance companies are ultimately the ones that have to pay these massive settlements. But in the case of Cleveland, they are self-insured, meaning the taxpayers fund the department. So it's really going to fall on the taxpayers to push for those reforms, and we'll see what happens, Anya.
It's interesting, of course, like you said, this settlement doesn't bring back Tamir Rice. The other question is whether or not it will prevent anything like that from happening in the future if officers still aren't held accountable. RT correspondent Brigida Santos from LA, thank you.
Genesee County, MI. RT. The victim of a brutal police beating has been awarded $36.6 million in mostly punitive damages after a jury found 5 Genesee County sheriff's officers used excessive force. William Jennings, 42, was arrested in Michigan for driving drunk in September 2010. When he was going through intake at Genesee County Jail, things quickly went from standard procedure to a takedown by police. Thrown to the floor, Jennings was then beaten by the officers. The entire incident, captured by a jailhouse camera, was shown to the jury, which decided to award Jennings $36.6 million, more than double the $16 million requested by his attorney. "I asked them for $16 million. I think they thought the conduct was extremely outrageous and returned a verdict that exceeded what we asked for," Kevin Ernst, attorney for Jennings, told WJBK. An award of this sum is unusual in these kinds of cases. The family of Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old shot and killed by a Cleveland police officer in 2014, received $6 million in a settlement with the city of Cleveland. The family of Eric Garner, a Staten Island man killed by an NYPD officer in 2014, received a $5.9 million settlement. Defense lawyers justified the 5 officers' actions by claiming that Jennings was admittedly drunk and non-compliant, resistant and combative during the booking process after he was arrested for drunk driving and was believed to have been in a fight at a bar in Flint, the Detroit Free Press reported. The force and maneuvers utilized were appropriate to control the situation, the defense claimed. However, the tape shows him being depilled by multiple police officers that began after Jennings removed his hand from the wall during a pat-down. They attacked him in the jail. Then they handcuffed him and continued to assault him, smashing his face into the wall, Jennings' other attorney, Dean Elliott, told the Free Press. They took him into a safety cell, covered his mouth, tasered him and put a bag over his head and tied him down. I ended up busting my tooth chewing a hole in the mask so I could breathe, Jennings told WJBK, adding, I thought I was going to die. The award is believed to be a symbolic gesture that speaks to the nature of Jennings' attack. I think that the jurors were sending a message to the sheriff that these kinds of actions cannot go on, Elliott said. The defense has already made plans to appeal the decision and possibly get the award reduced. Defense attorney Christopher Scott told the Free Press that an appeal will be undertaken, if needed, as the verdict is not supported by the law or facts. Whether the award is reduced or given in full doesn't seem to matter much to Jennings, who told WJBK, I am not the same person and I never will be. Can you put a number on that? I don't know. Read more at http://36-million-police-brutality/4wvqkchacvlxuufc.99